This is Matt Phillips, founder of Pro Athlete Advantage, and welcome to another interview where we get to dive deep into relationship building. I had the honor of sitting and spending some time with a woman named Bianca Veloso, who is a relationship strategist and coach and founder of a company called BraveHearts Coaching. I have had the great fortune of getting to know Bianca actually fairly well. She lives in the Denver, Colorado area. Like me, I met her at a speech, about a year ago. And, not only is she passionate about her business and helping people develop relationships with loved ones, with their spouses and partners, but she just has a zest for life. She loves to live. She loves to develop herself. She loves meeting people. She is also a senior leader at Tony Robbins live events. She is highly involved in the community and just growing people so they can have the best relationships and, frankly, just best life that they want. So we got to sit down and dive into relationships. And, I think, obviously, from a business and personal life perspective, we're constantly engaged in those relationships, whether it's with our spouse or partner or loved one, with our children, or with our coworkers and our bosses. Right? They're all around us. And she specializes in really kind of diving deep to make sure you can create extraordinary relationships in your life, to dive into what is preventing you from having them in the first place, getting to kind of this emotional level and the root cause of what is going on, and getting you focused on action that you can take from here on out. Some interesting things about Bianca, because she is so highly involved in kind of the Tony Robbins world and continue developing herself, is she actually uses NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and NAC, which is neuro-associative conditioning, which is based on this, kind of solution-based humanistic approach to psychology to create lasting change, because that's what everything is about. That's what high performance is about. How do we start forming those habits? How do we start to dig deep, push through those fears and doubts, those things holding us back? And we've got to create it at a habitual level where it becomes second nature. That's what we're all seeking. Bianca, beyond this, a little bit about her past. She actually spent, 16 plus years in different leadership and business development roles in corporate America. She successfully made the switch out of corporate America to running her own business, this entrepreneurial world. And she is just an absolute inspiration for me. I love spending time with her, as does my wife. It's just awesome. A couple things I want you to really pay attention to in this interview. Obviously I have a vested interest in this, right? I've got a wife. We've been married for about 15 years. I've got 3 children right now, age 12, 10, and 6. And obviously I want to make sure that I am first and foremost taking care of that relationship with my wife and then my kids. And we actually dive into, what comes first, like kind of chicken or egg type stuff, right? Is it your wife or is it your kids? We dive into that. We talk about what men and women need to feel fulfilled, to feel like they belong. And when you pay attention to these key items, that's when relationships really flourish. And what we're going to learn today through this interview, it just is applicable to every area of life. So, while we might be talking about, men and women and relationships with spouses and partners, I want you to look at this and figure out how it can apply to every other area of your life as well. So enjoy this interview. Bianca Veloso from BraveHearts Coaching. You can go to her website at braveheartscoaching.com. I'll have links down below the podcast where you can get all the information. She's got kind of this special coaching session for those of you interested in diving deep into your relationship. And I know she's just going to change your life. Enjoy the interview. Get out your pen and paper. Take some notes. Go implement what you learn and change your relationships forever. Enjoy. Well, Bianca, thank you so much for taking your time on a Friday afternoon to interview with me. I'm very, very excited to have you.
Yes, so excited. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, for those of you that don't know, I had the pleasure of meeting Bianca, what is it now? 9 months ago, probably at this point, if not longer. About 9 months ago at a Chamber of Commerce meeting here in the Denver area, and we just absolutely hit it off and have just a tremendous amount in common. And when I found out what you do, Bianca, as far as your relationship coaching and relationship strategy, obviously it fascinates me because not only am I married, but I've got 3 children. I'm running a business. I'm out meeting people, trying to develop relationships all the time. And it's just one of those things where relationships are all around us, and they're the foundation of sales, foundation of business. It's teaming, right? If we have the great relationships within our team at work and at home, that's when we experience success. And obviously, I'm very focused on making my wife happy, and building that with my children as well. That kind of comes first in everything that I do. So I'm very, very excited to kind of dive into this a little bit and hear some of your strategies that some of the folks listening today might be able to use both at work and at home.
Yes, that's what I live for, and I'm very passionate about it. So let's get started.
Awesome. Well, the first thing that really stuck out to me that I wanted to dive into today was, you spent a lot of time in corporate America, in a variety of different roles, and now you're a relationship strategist, a relationship coach. So I'd love to dive into, how did you start this business? How did you transition from kind of corporate America to what you do now?
Yeah, the corporate experience brought me tremendous growth and success. I did 16 years in leading sales teams in different countries, developing markets around the world, managing global sales process and partners, operational efficiency. And they all brought tremendous results to companies I worked for. What was really bad in this, if we could use that word, It was the high cost in my personal life and my health and my marriage at that time of 7 years. And subsequent relationships also, but beginning the relationship with myself, right? So I decided to take matters into my own hands and embark on a quest to learn from the best experts in relationship field, while getting my master's degree, which had an emphasis of innovation and leadership, and working for one of the top tech companies in the world. So that's how I arrived at pursuing more understanding of what the leadership skills used by the best experts in the relationship field around the world, but more so with the desire to lead myself first and
Yes.
having that better relationship with myself, understanding my emotional blueprint, my emotional patterns. And that was the beginning of a beautiful journey of self-discovery and growth, and contribution beyond my wild dream. And that was when I discovered my true mission in life, the tools and the resources that I've learned and applied towards the relationship with myself and others around me improved the quality of my life tremendously, that I could not hold back and not share with others. And that's how I've created BraveHearts Coaching.
Well, so that's fascinating because, a lot of times when we're dealing with, tough relationships and bringing stuff home from work and all that, I think people tend to, point fingers at the partner, right? Or
Yes.
that other person. And just hearing you talk, it was very much, you took that finger pointing and you turned it right back on you. Is that right? Of like, it kind of started with you first?
Absolutely. Yes. And to me, that is what leadership is all about, is how can you lead yourself first and not necessarily lead others, because then you have the followers, but more of a like, how can you unleash the true potential that you have, lead a better life, and then use the same tools and resources to unleash the true potential of others. And that could also be with your partner in a relationship.
So that's interesting. It's, obviously you and I are very aligned on, how do we develop ourselves first, right? And how do we make
Yes.
sure we're dealing with our, whatever's holding us back, whether it's a fear or a doubt, worry, it's a kind of negative self-talk that we're constantly throwing at ourselves and just really hurting ourselves with. When you work with clients, either in groups or one-on-one, is that kind of where you start with people of understanding what really is holding them back, or where do you initially start with each individual?
Oh, yeah. So my signature program has 3 courses, and the first course is half of the program, and is dedicated to understand and discover your emotional blueprint. And that it truly, what it means is understanding where you at, where you want to be, and what's preventing you from having it all. We all have the capacity to create the life that we not only dream, but we want to experience. And those are just roadblocks, blind spots, as I call, that set us back from truly living our potential. So that's where I start. I take my clients on our journey to basically understand their emotional blueprint and take control of their emotions and learn to reprogram their thinking and behavioral pattern. And that fuels them with tools and resources to make decisions and put them in charge of their relationship destiny and other areas of life as well.
And I love that, kind of emotional mastery that you talk about, because that's such a huge component of, at least for myself, I know, one thing I struggle with, especially having 3 children is, I get towards the end of the day and my willpower is, my self-control is a bit depleted, my energy's down,
Yes.
and a bit of, noise or fighting or something like that, I tend to ramp up really quickly emotionally. And that, that can, if I'm not careful, really hurt the relationship with my kids or wife or whatever.
Yes.
And it's, I think, so important just to separate that and understand, like, when you feel that emotional rise, like how do you take that step back and look at it, the situation for what it is, right? Almost like
Yes.
gathering data, almost, which I don't know if that's the right phrase or not, but but almost like a little business case, if you will, or life case, saying like, okay, here's the inputs, what kind of outputs and reaction do I want to have at this moment?
Yes, that's so important. And knowing how to balance and work with your partner and understanding, first of all, your own needs, right? That's where the first course of my program is all about. What are your needs and what are your belief system, the rules that you have created for yourself, what needs to happen for you to fulfill those needs. And once you understand yours, it becomes easier to understand your partner needs as well and learn how to communicate your desires and respond to your partner needs and emotions, all while eliminating fear, because that's what holds us back at a subconscious level. That once you learn those skills, it becomes easier to then have principles and disciplines that you can apply on a day-to-day basis to take your relationship to that next level of what you want to experience with your partner. But yeah, the first thing I say to my clients on a key strategy, and I'll give you to in this interview and
Please.
for your audience, is have a heartfelt understanding for your partner, right? Knowing that your partner has always the best intention. Even at that moment, it's hard to believe if you're not agreeing with a reaction or what the circumstance is in the moment. But having a heartfelt understanding, remembering that what built that foundation of the relationship was trust, and knowing that, yeah, your partner has your back, even though it may not be aligned with the kind of reaction or words that you want in that moment, but have that heartfelt understanding, put your lover first, and coming from an attitude of, yeah, my partner has the best intention. Let me understand what are the needs that she or he is trying to fulfill in this moment. How can I give and add value, but coming from an attitude of always heartfelt understanding.
I love that, because that's so powerful, to the initial reaction you have with someone based on their words or thoughts or whatever is that that person has my best intention in mind. And that's
Yes.
such a shift from a mental perspective, rather than the alternative saying that my partner's attacking me at the moment or that person's attacking me.
Mm.
And I think that's really, I like that quite a bit, actually, because I'm now thinking back to, circumstances I had with, with my wife and things like that. And you sometimes, I think we automatically, I do at least, go to that place of like, why is she attacking me, right? Or why is she so emotional when we're talking about whatever.
Yes.
And being an entrepreneur is not the most stress-free of environments. So
Yes.
we'll put it that way. Um, but at the end of the day, I love that phrasing, and to say that up front of like, okay, I know she has the best interest in mind, and now how do I continue to put her first? How do I add value to her? How do I make sure she's calm and collected and all that stuff as well? Um,
Yes.
and give that back to her. That's
Yes.
that's really powerful for everybody listening. My gosh, I mean, I can see that being used in business, in your personal relationships, every relationship you have of no matter their reaction, they have your best interest in mind, and approach
Yes.
it that way. Even though you
Yes.
may have to step in and eliminate some of their fears or some of their doubts, it's they're still just protecting themselves and you, and that's such a really cool frame of mind.
Completely. And man has a special power, which for women, it comes in terms of your presence, right?
Mm.
When she is having an emotional state in that moment, in that conversation, how could you, and you teach this, Matt, through your work, how could you remain as a solid rock where, for an analogy, the woman emotional state could be the rough waters of the sea, but you're remaining with your presence and
Mm.
giving her the time and the attention undivided, where it's a great discipline for creating lasting passion and love, right? Considering your lover's interest as a foremost importance. Your partner comes before children, before work, before anything else. And it's quite counterintuitive, right, for most men and women, because we learn how to achieve and give and work hard and provide. But if your partner doesn't feel that they are the paramount of your life, you've got problems.
That is a very, very good point, because how many times in right everybody listening have we automatically put work first,
Yes.
or even with if you happen to have children and their busy schedules with sports and after school activities, that comes first before taking care of your
Yes.
partner.
And certainly, children, work, family are very important. And absolutely, there are times where you need to push forward in your business, and your partner plays a supportive role. And that, I'm not discounting that. However, when you think about putting your partner's feelings, emotions, desires, and fears, as you well said,
Mm.
before your own, it's a game changer in relationships.
Yeah, it's almost adopting this kind of service mindset, right?
Yes.
That I'm here to serve my partner first, along with other people, to your point. But my first stop has to be, how do I serve my partner? Because um, we have a family friend, and I think this is a pretty famous phrase, but he used to say, happy wife, happy life, and it's I think very much of service though, of how do I make sure that he or she is taken care of,
Yes.
and if the partner has that same thinking backwards, this service. I mean, that's tremendous. It's
Yes.
tremendous. It's like what do you need to be successful, and how do I help foster that?
Yes. And I often say relationship is a place for us to arrive to give, not to get. And we are made of love. If we train ourselves with that service mindset that you just spoke about, and arrive at our relationship on a daily basis with that mentality of give and serving, oh, you get to experience very, very cool feelings.
That's true. It's probably no different than going to volunteer, but you're serving at home. Um,
Yes.
you get that great feeling. So if one thing that if some advice for some of the people listening, and frankly for me as well, um, if I were to sit down with my wife in this case, or others sit with their partners and stuff like that, are there to have that kind of initial discussion of, what are your needs and how can I most best serve you? Maybe is um, a great way that they could phrase it. But are there some questions or basic questions they could ask their partner to get to some of those core items that they need, or is it that basic of like, hey, I want to understand your needs?
Uh, yes, you can ask your partner what is important for them to feel on a regular basis.
Mm.
And because of my training and also my private practice, there are patterns, right? And you learn what these patterns are for men and women. So in general terms, and I'll give as an insight to you and to your listeners as well. In general terms, for women, we have primary needs of feeling safe, understood, seen, taken care of, loved.
Okay.
And when you understand those and you ask your partner what needs to happen for you to feel safe, understood, loved, taken care of, protected, and men sometimes take that into on financial stability only. But when we talk about feeling safe, it's an environment where we can be vulnerable, where we can
Mm-hmm.
come and share the stresses and emotions that we are having without being judged. So there is a safe or environment that the woman feels that she can truly be vulnerable and open, and that it just flows out of us the love and the support and the nurture that is in our essence. But yeah, initiate that conversation. It makes us feel what understood, valued, seen as
Yes.
a priority, and we love that.
Yes. Um, what on the flip side for the males, are there certain traits that they want to kind of feel? Is it same thing of like loved, or for
uh,
the woman like seen, understood? Like are there certain trends for men as well?
Yeah, different ones. And for men, I tell this to my female clients all the time. We need to be certain that our words and actions are not making them feel criticized, that they're not feeling controlled, because men, one important thing for men is freedom
Mm-hmm.
and not feeling controlled, right? And it's not freedom to do anything they want that it would be counterproductive for the relationship, but
Yes.
freedom that we trust, that you are leading from your intelligence and making decisions that is for the greater good for the relationship and for the family, because you're putting your partner first. You're putting the value of your family first, right? Even though you're also taking care of important parts such as business.
Yes.
So a man, it they adopt a mask every time they feel criticized, they feel controlled, and they feel that the woman is taking love away and they are feeling rejected or isolated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the patterns that I've noticed, and we get trained on this quite a bit as well.
Interesting. So yeah, and as you're saying it, I mean, I'm picturing my wife and exactly what you mentioned: the safe, seen, understood, protected, taken care of, loved. I mean, that's exactly what she needs. And as I think about you talking about, men in this case, um, kind of the freedom that we're leading the family, leading the business, whatever. Those really resonate with me as well. And I feel, I know I feel at certain times in the past I felt like trapped of like she's not letting me lead
Yeah.
um, and I think that goes back to that original at the beginning of this, having me telling myself she's got my best intention in mind. Now how do I
Totally.
work through that? And that would have taken me through probably a lot quicker thinking of past circumstances.
Yes, and I do coach women on the point criticism to a man is like kryptonite to a Superman. um, man thrives off of appreciation, admiration, and praise quite often. So, but they shut down at the very thought of being controlled, right? And if he feels at his core that he's controlled, he will eventually, with time, hate himself and then build resentment towards the partner and even become fearful in leading in certain decisions. And then also, men feel shame when he's criticized and feels inadequate and shuts down. And most of the emotional pattern in situations that there is this perception or feeling, it can come back with anger or rage, right? And in some men, they leave either a conversation or a situation instead of being that rock solid stand and understanding what is the emotional pattern that the partner is having, the emotional state that she is in, and what are the needs that she is trying to fulfill in that moment.
Yes. And I think that's great because so if you don't mind, let's dive into that a little bit as far as like
Yes.
strategies, right? So let's say in the case, because you and I are, again, we're very aligned with this of like we've got to change the way we think and the kind of thoughts that we're having and create these new neural pathways in our minds based when we're faced with those situations, right? Because again, adversity is going nowhere. I wish everything were, we got along 100% of the time, but that's just not reality, frankly, in any relationship. So
Correct.
it's like let's cut it through and cut through it and be like, okay, so how do I come up with a strategy where if male or female reacts in a certain way, how can I calmly approach that and go from there? So, one thing you mentioned, like if partner comes to a man and starts criticizing stuff like that, is there a strategy or a different approach that that person could take? So instead of making it feel like they're criticizing the man,
Yes.
that it comes off more like, hey, I'm not criticizing you, but still kind of figure it out, or
Yes,
I don't
no,
know.
that's a great question. So I coach my clients because it was a pattern for me in the past, right? I was operating in very much, we won't have a chance to dive into the feminine and the masculine energy, but we all have both energies, and there is one that is your essence, and there is one that you operate if you're not aligned with your essence. And I was operating a lot in the masculine energy, which is a beautiful thing. I'm very, very pleased and happy that that is well developed in me. But what they are is in a relationship, you think about a kingdom with two kings, right? You create competition.
Yes.
And women, because of how we are trained nowadays to achieve and conquer and pursue and have goals and kick ass and take names, those are great resources. Those are great things that when developed, you can use as a resource. But our power as a woman in the feminine energy is to lead from our intuition. It's to lead from that soft, open, vulnerable. We are vital. We are joyful. It's an energy that is primarily concerned about the needs of others. The masculine energy, yes, we have and we better as well use as a resource, but it's more of about self-ego, leader, ambitious, driven, achiever, opinionated, and dominant. Trust me, I have all of that. But not leading from that and using as resource when your partner comes and say, hey, hon, I'm about to make this big investment. I feel it's going to be great for the business and for the overall health of our financial stability for our family. let me run by you and I would love to get your opinion on it. Women will feel what? Appreciated, valued, right? Seen and understood. And in that moment, if she's aligned with her feminine power, she would give her opinion, but very much based on her intelligence aligned with her intuition, which is our power.
Yes.
And vice versa for women, I coach when you want to share with your partner emotions that you're feeling and your intuition is speaking to you, pre-frame that conversation. Say, hey, hon, there's a lot of things that I'm feeling. Do you have 5 minutes of your undivided attention where I would like to share what I'm feeling and get your opinion on so you can help me make a decision and come up with a solution that will be the best for the overall of the relationship in our family or for the business or whatever the circumstances is. But yeah, those are the two strategies that if you learn the traits and the characteristics of your essence as an individual and a human being, but then also in the relationship, the main role that you have, how do you dance together with your partner?
Yes.
Right?
I love that because in those ways that you kind of reframe those conversations and pre-frame, it's, when you approach the man of like, I'm feeling a certain way, want to talk to you about it, it puts him back in that place of like, okay, I'm giving you freedom. Like, do you have 5 minutes? That you're still leading the conversation, giving us fake control, which is great. So, which we appreciate, darn it. But that's very true. And then I love that flip side. Because even being an entrepreneur, right? And I have, daily glances into, the pipeline for my business and what conversations I'm having with people and what bids I put in for, workshops or whatever. I'm looking at that constantly throughout the day where my wife doesn't have that look. And so she has to trust me. And whereas it's easier for me to just be like, honey, just trust me. Trust me. I got this. I got this. Instead of, I've even put a tactic in place where my little cash flow spreadsheet, which I have up actually on the screen right now, as a matter of fact, in the background, of course. But I'll actually pull her in and say, hey, I want you to take a look at this, and I want to show you what's in the pipeline, and I want to show you, what conversations I've had, and what bids are out there and stuff, and this is kind of what I'm expecting for the month. And I found that to be really effective because then it brings her in my world a little bit, but it also, to your point, going back to those words, it makes her feel, safe, taken care of, protected, and that I truly value her opinion on this, and I want her in this with me because I don't think in any partnership or marriage you can't do it alone. That's why you enter into that in the first place.
Yes, that's why we seek a relationship, is to magnify human emotions in ways that nothing else on earth can give us the possibility. It's where we become our raw selves, our deepest insecurities come up, but that's where you're going to get the greatest reward. There is absolutely nothing else that comes close to it. But I wanted to just briefly share this insight because man has this gift that once unleashed, it just takes the relationship to the next level, right? If you understand what a woman in the feminine energy needs, it's very simple. It's just 1, 2, 3. You won't forget this, right? We talked about it. The feminine energy needs to be seen. It needs to know it's being felt and given attention to. Feeling unseen is the chemistry for breakdown of the relationship. A woman in the feminine energy as a core, for example, who is not feeling seen or prioritizing the relationship, will eventually seek that somewhere else, right? This is where sometimes I have couples that come from my private practice where men wants to understand what takes a woman to cheat. This is one of the things, right?
Yes.
It will seek eventually elsewhere if feeling seen. And then, so seen is one, and then feeling understood. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else, but empathy and compassion allow for that sense that there is an appreciation for what she's going through. Yes. So when I make reference of you having that presence, that power, being that rock solid stand for her, where yes. her emotional states are the rough waters that come through it. A woman will not be able to let go of something until she feels understood. And then lastly, it comes the safety that you're speaking about. And, this comes from thousands of years of evolution. The feminine energy is the prey and needs yes. to feel protected.
Okay.
Yes.
Seen, understood, and safe.
Oh my goodness!
Seen. I have starred each of those in my notes. I will be locking them away in memory here.
Yes, and as I shared, also women need to understand and what are the 3 triggers for men that they just shut down completely. Mm-hmm. So having those 1, 2, 3 checkpoints will give you a key to a successful relationship where love, vulnerability, humor, respect, shame-free fighting, blame-free living, right? You'll be able to cultivate love by being vulnerable and deeply seen and known by yes. each other. And that just sparks a new level of passion, a new depth of love, that it's a spiritual connection from this offering that it just improves trust, respect, kindness, and affection, in my opinion.
Absolutely. When I see such parallels at work too, I mean, even in the workplace. But to your point, it starts at home.
Yes.
And then it, as I always kind of say, it cascades from there, right? So.
Yes, the ripple effect, right? When yes. it starts and it's solid at home, the ripple effect, every area of life prospers.
That's awesome. I love this.
Yeah, me too.
I know you do. I know you do. And I wish we had hours with you. And I know you don't have a whole lot of time today. And this is, we'll have to do a round 2 here coming up shortly.
Anytime.
To get more information from you. But, one thing that, obviously, I want to make sure people can get in touch with you if they need to, and I'll have links to your website and social media and all that stuff in the notes, below this video and in the podcast. So I want to make sure that's kind of known for everyone, and make sure you please go check out the notes and all that. But any kind of, from your perspective, any other thoughts on how they can get a hold of you or find you, or to ask any questions or coaching, anything like that?
Yes, especially for your listeners, I'll be happy to give 1 hour of my time through a discovery session. If anyone would like to claim that, you also get a free e-class on key strategies to create lasting passion and love in relationships. So I'm sure you're going to share that link, but it will be my pleasure yes. to talk to any of your audience and make them experience the journey that once it gets started, you will never want to end.
I love it. And, again, Bianca, I truly appreciate your time. And, obviously this topic is very, very important to me, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm constantly thinking about it. And I imagine, I know this for a fact, messing up and then fixing it and messing up. And but for me, it's just, how do I be more consistent in how I approach, all my relationships, especially with my wife and children, because they're at the top of my list, and make sure that every interaction I have has their best intention in mind, and that I'm approaching it from a place of, like, I understand their needs, and it's my opportunity to help build them up and provide for them in that way, in that fashion.
Yes.
That life of service. So this is This is awesome. This is awesome.
You're awesome. That's
No,
great.
hey, no, we're I just get to surround myself with great people. So it's a pleasure for me, Bianca. And yeah, everyone, please, please make sure to go check out the notes below. Connect with Bianca. Go check her out. Sign up for that free session and look for that free guide as well. And Bianca, I know I will see you very soon. And thanks again.
Thank you, Matt, and God bless. All the best, and
Thank you.
love fearlessly and live powerfully.
Thanks, Bianca.
Thank you.